Have you ever wondered how a fantasy gaming app like Dream11 can afford to have Amir Khan, Ranbir Kapoor and multiple cricket stars all in one single advertisement? The budget for just this one ad campaign must be insane. I mean, we're talking about A-list Bollywood actors and top cricketers over here. And it's not even like this is a one-off thing. Dream11 has consistently been running these kind of massive campaigns year after year where they're spending thousands of crores of rupees on just advertising their platform. And what's most interesting here is that it has been giving them great results. Today, Dream11 owns a significant chunk of India's fantasy gaming market and they have a user base of more than 20 crore people. And this also means that there are now more Dream11 accounts in India than Demat accounts for stock investing or trading. Yes, you heard that right. More people in India are now playing fantasy cricket than the number of people who are investing in the stock market. So very clearly, Dream11 has done something phenomenal to get over here. But the real question is, what have they really done? In this video today, we'll try and understand exactly that. We'll take a look at why Dream11 spends so much money on flashy, high-budget advertisements year after year. Second, how exactly has this strategy helped them maintain a dominance in a space where technically anybody can build a very similar platform? And third and most importantly, how Dream11 has very smartly evolved its strategy over time. My name is Bansal and let's decode. Before I get started, I wanted to quickly announce that this channel is now a part of Zerodha's 01 Media Network. Together, Zerodha and I plan to bring you interesting case studies and insights from the world of marketing and branding. People, to truly understand Dream11's marketing genius, let's first get a very quick understanding of the unique business model that fantasy gaming platforms operate with. See, fantasy gaming platforms essentially run on a model where they take a cut from every contest that people like you and I participate in. It's very similar to how a casino operates, where the house always wins. Now, when users like you and I create fantasy teams and join contests, these platforms take a platform fee, typically of around 15 to 20% of the overall entry amount. Now, this means that regardless of which user wins, the platform is guaranteed to make money as long as people keep playing it. And this business model, ladies and gentlemen, creates an extremely powerful marketing advantage that most other businesses simply do not have. This is exactly where Dream11's genius begins. See, for most companies, figuring out where to advertise is a massive challenge. Let's take food delivery apps as an example here. See, their potential customers are essentially literally everybody who eats food, right? Somebody here could be completely uninterested in the field of sports, but they could still order from the app like 3 times a week. So the food delivery app is forced to advertise across dozens of channels, which means they sponsor reality shows, they could work with food influencers, lifestyle bloggers, and practically anybody and everybody with a meaningful distribution and following. But with fantasy sports, this particular game, ladies and gentlemen, completely changes. Fantasy gaming platforms have a massive targeting advantage because almost 100% of their potential users are already gathered in one place, which is watching sports content. Think about it. Have you ever met somebody who plays fantasy cricket but does not actually watch cricket? It's almost impossible, right? And this creates a spectacular efficiency in their marketing strategy. When a fantasy platform puts ads during, let's say, an IPL match or they sponsor a team jersey, they know with almost absolute certainty that they are reaching their exact target audience. There is practically zero wastage in their advertisement spend. And that is why it makes perfect sense for them to overspend in these specific channels. For a company like Dream11, a 30-second IPL advertisement spot delivers far more value than it would for almost any other business in India. Basically, every rupee that they put into cricket advertising works multiple times harder than the same rupee would for companies like, say, Zomato or Swiggy in the food delivery space. In financial year 2023 alone, Dream11 spent a mind-boggling 2,964 crore rupees on advertising and promotions. That, ladies and gentlemen, is 51% of their total expenses going into just marketing. And here is the thing, despite all of this massive spending, Dream11 still managed to be profitable and they earned 188 crore rupees in profit in that very year. Now, I know some of you might come up and say that earning 188 crore rupees is very small as compared to spending 3000 crore rupees on advertisements. But the thing is, the reality is that without this level of advertising spending, they might not even have made profits at all. Basically, the relationship that they have between marketing spends and user growth in this business model is exponential and not really linear. Basically, the more people join their platforms, the more contests they can offer, the more engaging it becomes, and the bigger their profits grow, which basically allows them to spend even more on marketing and grow even further. But all that said and done, there is a lot more to Dream11's success than just efficient marketing. Let's dig a little deeper into exactly how they have created an unbeatable advantage in the market. See, fantasy gaming is technically a very low barrier industry. The core technology as such is not exceptionally complex, and there are already dozens of competitors in the market like MPL, My11 Circle, and the others who are all trying to grab a piece of this market. So the question here is then, how has Dream11 managed to absolutely dominate this space? See, Dream11 was not just an early entrant over here. They were almost like pioneers of India's fantasy gaming space when they had launched back in 2008. At that time, fantasy gaming was practically non-existent in India, and the concept was alien to most of us. Now, this very early start, ladies and gentlemen, gave them a very important first mover advantage, but this also meant that they had to solve problems that no one else had tackled before. They had to build the technology from scratch, they had to figure out the right user experience for Indian audiences, and most crucially, they had to establish the legal foundation by proving that fantasy gaming was a game of skill rather than a game of chance. But the thing is, being first is not enough. History is filled with pioneers who were eventually overtaken by better competitors. Dream11's real genius though was how they transformed this early lead into an unbeatable advantage of sorts. See, as Dream11's user base started to grow, they made an incredibly strategic decision. Instead of keeping profits with themselves or expanding into newer markets like many other companies do, they began aggressively pouring money back into marketing and brand building in the exact same space and at a scale that completely overwhelmed all the competitors. And by the time they reached a significant size, they were spending so much on advertising and marketing that they effectively blocked competitors from accessing most premium sporting spaces. Think about it, when Dream11 puts Rohit Sharma, Hardik Pandya, Rishabh Pant, Amir Khan, Ranbir Kapoor and all others in one single advertisement, it is obviously not just about creating a great advertisement. It is more about making it practically impossible for any other competitor to match that very star power. And this is precisely why that one advertisement everybody has been talking about is so brilliant. It's not just a regular advertisement, it is almost like a statement to everybody saying that we can afford this, you cannot. Similarly, by becoming the official fantasy gaming partner of the IPL, the official sponsor of the Indian cricket team, and partnering with multiple IPL franchises, Dream11 has effectively locked out competitors of these premium sponsorship opportunities. Just take a look at the scale of investment that I'm talking about. In 2020, when businesses worldwide were cutting costs because of the pandemic, Dream11 made a very big and bold move. They became the title sponsor of the IPL by paying a mind-boggling 222 crore rupees. And they didn't even stop there. In 2023, they doubled down by signing a massive 3-year deal worth 358 crore rupees to become the lead sponsor of the Indian cricket team. And like you would have figured by now, these are not your regular sponsorship deals alone. They are almost like strategic blockades so that no other competitor can enter their territory. And it is a brilliant strategy because it leverages Dream11's biggest strength, which is their massive user base and revenue, against relatively smaller competitors who simply cannot afford to compete at their level. And this financial muscle does not just help them dominate advertising spaces, it has also allowed Dream11 to evolve their marketing approach as the industry has matured slowly. Dream11 has very intelligently transformed their storytelling over different phases of their growth. In their early days, for example, they did campaigns with MS Dhoni focusing primarily on education. That is because at that time, they needed to explain to people what fantasy sports was and to convince them that it was legitimate and skill-based. I don't know if you remember the Dimag se Dhoni campaign. Take a look.
आपको क्या लगता है इंडिया में सिर्फ एक ही धोनी है? Dream11 इंडिया का बिगेस्ट स्पोर्ट्स गेम, तो अपनी क्रिकेट नॉलेज से सिलेक्ट करो अपनी टीम और खेलो क्रिकेट दिमाग से।
Now, this was all about positioning fantasy gaming as a strategic activity that required cricket knowledge and not just luck. But the thing is, as fantasy gaming became more and more mainstream and Dream11 started to establish itself as the market leader, their narrative shifted very significantly. Today, their advertisements are less about explaining the concept of fantasy gaming and more about creating emotional connections and FOMO, or the fear of missing out. Their recent campaign with Amir Khan, Ranbir Kapoor and multiple cricketers does not even bother explaining how fantasy sports work. It just assumes you already know about it. Instead, it actually focuses on the fun, the rivalry and the community aspect of playing fantasy sports. The underlying message that they're promoting here is very simple. Everyone's playing Dream11, why are you not? And this is exactly where Dream11 has left all their competitors behind. See, while other fantasy platforms are still very heavily focused on explaining how their games work or even highlighting cash prizes for that matter, Dream11 has moved far beyond that now. They have created aspirational marketing that taps into emotions like friendship, rivalry, and the shared joy of sports. And this more sophisticated approach helps them connect with users on a much deeper level that any other competitor has managed or even can afford to achieve at this point. It's almost like they're playing an entirely different game altogether. But the real magic of Dream11's business goes a little beyond just their advertising. Their product itself creates a fundamentally different way for people to experience sports in general. See, when you create a team on a fantasy platform for an IPL match, something very interesting happens to how you exactly watch that match. You are no longer just a passive viewer who is supporting your favorite team. See, without realizing, you are now actively invested in the performance of individual players from multiple different teams only and only because they are a part of your fantasy team. For example, a die-hard CSK fan might suddenly start caring about how a Mumbai Indians bowler is performing just because that bowler is in their fantasy team. And that, ladies and gentlemen, completely transforms the viewing experience for everybody. And this transformation is golden for fantasy platforms because it makes sports viewing significantly more engaging. And a more engaged viewer is much more likely to come back and also create teams for future matches as well. But that's not even the most interesting part. See, this increased engagement is not just good for fantasy platforms like Dream11, it is also incredibly valuable for the entire sports broadcasting ecosystem. TV channels and streaming platforms absolutely love fantasy gaming because it boosts their viewership and also keeps audiences engaged for much longer. Even matches between less popular teams or one-sided games for that matter remain interesting to those viewers who have their fantasy teams. And this, ladies and gentlemen, creates a mutually beneficial relationship where broadcasters and fantasy gaming platforms, both of them benefit from each other. So basically, by making sports more engaging, fantasy platforms are contributing to almost like a healthier sports ecosystem, which in turn provides them with much more opportunities to engage users. It's almost like a beautiful virtuous cycle, and Dream11 has mastered it perfectly. But that said, there is one more powerful advantage that Dream11 has built and taken advantage of over time, which is the network effect. Think about it. Why do you use WhatsApp or let's say an Instagram? That's probably because all your friends and family are already on the app, right? See, the value of these platforms basically increases with each additional user, and if you ever wanted to leave a WhatsApp or Instagram, you would need everyone that you know to move along with you, which is practically impossible to do. Now, Dream11 has masterfully created a very similar network effect. See, when all your friends are playing on Dream11, you are naturally attracted to the same platform so that you can compete in the same contests and you can discuss the very same teams. And this social element, ladies and gentlemen, means that even if a competitor offers better features or higher winnings for that matter, people are very reluctant to switch because their entire social circle is already playing on Dream11. So by absolutely dominating this entire space, Dream11 has created something very incredible. They have made fantasy gaming a core part of how Indians watch cricket. For millions of fans now, creating their Dream11 team before a match has become just as important as deciding what snacks to eat or which friends to watch it with. This is possibly one of the most powerful advantages that they have built over time. When your product becomes a habit, almost like a ritual that fans follow before every single match, it becomes nearly impossible for competitors to break in. And if you want proof of this, listen carefully to how people talk nowadays. Most fans do not say, "Let's play fantasy cricket." Instead, they actually say, "Let's play Dream11." The brand today has literally become the default word for the entire category of fantasy sports, very similar to how we say Google it.
Google
for something instead of saying search it, or for example when we ask for Bisleri,
अरे भैया 2 बिस्लरी दियो.
when all we want is a bottle of mineral water. And what makes this dominance nearly impossible to challenge is Dream11's complete surround sound marketing approach. From TV broadcasters to team jerseys and from stadium boundaries to social media, Dream11 has essentially captured every single touchpoint of a cricket fan's journey. And this 360-degree presence, ladies and gentlemen, ensures that competitors simply cannot find any significant space to build their brand in the cricket ecosystem. So when you now step back and look at the complete picture, Dream11's dominance is not at all accidental. It is a result of a brilliantly executed strategy, which is that they have leveraged their first mover advantage to build a massive user base, and they've used the revenue from that user base to outspend all their competitors on marketing and advertising. They basically transformed the sports viewing experience to create deeper engagement for everybody, and they've built powerful network effects that make it extremely difficult for users to switch platforms. In an industry where the core technology is very easily replicable, Dream11 has proved that brand strength and user experience can create a far more powerful moat than any technology ever can. That's all for today's video. If you enjoyed this case study, please do hit the like button and do subscribe to the channel for more such marketing deep dives. I promise you there's a lot more such stuff coming in, and I'll see you in the next video.